How's it going, everybody? Hello, this is Billy Keels with Keep on Cash Flow. And in this video, I want to share with you one of the topics that is probably least known, but really has the biggest impact on you, especially if you are looking to invest, buy, and hold. Because one of the things it's going to allow you to do is understand when is it time for you to make a change in the asset that you're actually holding. And what I'd like to ask you for up front is if you find value in this video, that you share this with other people. Because once again, I appreciate everything that you're doing to help us to continue to grow the Keep on Cash Flow tribe. So let's see. So in that topic that we want to talk about, a lot of people talk about return on investment, but I want to go beyond that the first 12 months. And I want to talk to you about one of the metrics known as the return on equity. So for those of you that are seasoned that are watching, this is something that is probably very old hat for you. And for those of you that are continuing to get started or looking to accelerate in your career, this is one of the metrics that I would recommend that you pay more and more attention to. So I'm going to use an example as I quite frequently do, so that you get a much better idea as to how the return on equity, or the ROE, can positively affect you, but more importantly, that it can allow you to make better decisions moving forward. So before we do that, one of the things that I do want to give you just the same foundation. What we're going to talk about is a multifamily building. Now, this multifamily building is going to have a purchase price or a value of $1 million. You will have made a down payment on that property, and the initial down payment that was made was $135,000. And we're going to say that the annual cash flow, that is after every single thing is paid, that annual cash flow is $27,000, and which would make $27,000 divided by the initial down payment. That would give you an initial return on investment, or as I mentioned in one of my other videos, a cash return on investment of 20% during the first 12 months. As we look at this example, as we talk about return on equity, what I want you to think about is a couple of things. Number one, we're going to assume that there is an appreciation on the property, an annual appreciation of, let's call that appreciation, and we're going to call that at 4% per year. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at this across the first 5 years, which is typically one of the things that you would want to do as you're looking at a buy and hold investment. So we're going to assume that the appreciation is 4%. Now, I really want to keep this simple. So I don't want to complicate things. We're going to assume that this is a simple interest. There's no compounding interest. And also want to talk about the fact that there's not going to be any amortization or the principal that you have built in the property that's going to be bought down. These are things that are important, but for this example, let's keep it simple interest, and there is no principal buy down or amortization that is taking place. So as I mentioned before, we want to look at this over the first 5 years. So if we take a look at the first year in terms of equity, how much equity is in the first year? Let me just draw that out. Year one, year two, year three, year four, and year five. So in the first year, if we look at a 4% increase in terms of appreciation, that 4% is based on the $1 million purchase price that we talked about before. So in that first year, the appreciation that you're going to look at is $40,000 worth of appreciation in the first year. If we then look at that at the second year, we want to keep in mind that you've already had a down payment of $135,000 plus the first year's equity that was built up of $40,000. So at the second year, so beyond the initial cash return on investment, at the second year, you're looking at $175,000. And then 40,000 plus 40,000 plus 40,000. So that would be then 215,000 in the third year, 255,000 in the fourth year, and in the fifth year, it's 295,000. Now, if we looked at the first year, and we mentioned, or we talked about that the first year's return on investment was, and I think we said 20%. If we then look at year two, and we're going to continue to look at the same cash flow, the annual cash flow. In the second year, the return is the 27,000 divided by, what did we say, 175,000. Which gives us a 15.43 return. Then if we look at the 27 divided by, in the third year, we said 215,000. And that's 12.6%. And then if we do the math on the fourth year, that's also going to be 10.6%. And the fifth year is going to be 9.2%. So you've probably seen something that's very interesting that's happening. After each year, if the rents are maintained and stay the same, and the cash flow that you have at the end of the net cash flow stays the same, we see that the actual return on your money becomes less and less and less. And why is that? Because basically you're having the exact same amount of net cash flow, the same amount of money coming in, but your equity, or the amount that you own in the particular asset, actually begins to grow. Therefore, your money by default is working not working as hard as it was in the beginning. So what do you do about that? So one of the things that you can consider is, as you begin to have more and more equity build up in your property, it may be the time for you to look at an option to refinance. For example, pulling out some of the capital, which would actually allow the remaining capital to work harder, provided that it is continuing to give you 27%, or excuse me, the same $27,000 in net cash flow. So, or you could look at selling the property potentially. The fact of the matter is, this is up to you. But what I wanted to demonstrate by showing you what is return on equity is that if you are doing the exact same thing, receiving the same net cash flow, you need to look at making sure that your money is working harder for you. Because at the beginning, the first year, when we looked at return on investment, it was at 20%. And at the end of the fifth year, it's less than half of that. So the return on equity is, or the ROE, is one of the most important metrics to really watch in terms of making sure that your capital, that your equity is working as hard as it possibly can for you, that your money is working as hard as it can for you. So as I mentioned before, if you found this video useful, I'd ask that you share this with other friends, with other acquaintances, so we can continue to build the Keep On community. I'd also love to have your comments. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the video. Once again, my name is Billy Keels of Keep On Cashflow. That's my 2 cents for today. And as always, hasta la próxima.